So yesterday, last night, I made a video basically talking about how Blerds representation, it's so inconsistent. So I'm delivering, and this is my fuller, more in-depth video. And by the end of it, hopefully you understand what I mean by they are so wishy-washy and inconsistent. First things first, let's clarify on one. Blerds and black nerds are two different things. Black nerds come in two forms. Black nerds are black people who are nerds, but they don't need representation. They say it themselves, I don't really need a black character in order to relate to, in order to enjoy a character of any kind. It just needs to be good and relatable. Then there's people like me who do highly value representation, but we have standard. There's criteria that needs to be met, and most of the time in the mainstream, it is not met. At least by the big mega corporations. Some certain Blerds, on the other hand, that's a whole other beast. Often they claim to want representation, but they are the very last people to be looking for. They want it to be from AAA company, and they ain't gonna look for it anywhere else. So they say, oh, we don't have stories. Translation, AAA companies like Warner Brothers, Marvel Studios, and mainstream gaming companies don't have anything with us in it. When outside of them, there are many that do have black characters, and they don't really care about representation. They just want to be popular. They want to have clout. Well, that's at least a decent amount of it. Some of them, I will admit, they just don't know. They don't really look for it because they're listening to their peers saying that there is nothing there, but their peers aren't looking for it either. And some of their peers actually do that on purpose, and I'll explain that. Getting back to the other type, not only do their peers not see that, show that, but also they're relying on these mainstream companies to give them diversity, but they're not doing it. Well, at least the mainstream of the mainstream kind of thing, you know what I mean? Let me give you examples of black nerds and Blerds. The Black Macedonchi, my favorite content creator, is a black nerd. He wants more representation in all forms of media. So guess what he's doing? He's actively looking out for it. He is making videos talking about diverse manga, comics, whatever. King Lion is a black nerd who actually is making his own book that is one of the most pro-black books I've ever seen. The power system is based off of our melanin. But with that kind of amazing story, would you expect a bunch of black people to buy that books? No. He himself has admitted that, no, not many black people buy my books. I wish there were more, but hey, I guess that's time. He said that himself. The man behind Creative Theory himself is also a black. Using crowdfunding and his own time, money, and energy, he created his own anime and manga. I'll give you some examples of Blerds. If she does see this, I do want to apologize in advance. I don't know how to pronounce that name, so I'm sorry. But to get back on point, this girl is an example of a Blerd. From what I've seen, she only takes in content from the mainstream and not like source material, lore, etc. She doesn't know any better. Her, a black Norman Osborn, is, ooh, yay, great. Even though for anyone who's a fan of the lore knows, Norman Osborn is a straight up demon. He is evil. The Green Goblin is evil, and Norman Osborn personality is at base is a conniving snake who actually takes credit for other people's work. And so far, he's the only black character I've seen coming out in the new Spider-Man show. So that's not a good. As an example for the toxic kind of Blerd, I'm gonna just use this one. I don't know her name. I forgot it a while ago, but I don't care. I remember a while ago, I think it was last New Year's, I was in her comment section, and she's basically talking about how she promotes race swapping white characters to black because she likes them being. She stated herself that, no, they needlessly replaced us, so I want them needlessly replace their character. So I said, okay, so you're fighting fire with fire. You're doing the same thing they did to us. So then she was like, why, yes. They've been doing it to us for years. Where have you been? Haven't you known? Were you under a rock? And then I'm like, okay, so you're fighting racism by being racist. And then she's like, this conversation's boring. I don't know or not, I can't remember, but I think she even said I myself is boring too. And then she proceeded to block me. But the worst part is this woman does know the book. She does know the lore. So that means that she knows what she's doing. She wants to needlessly make white characters black because that happened to us in the past. She wants to be no better than the people she hates so dang much. But anyways, after clarifying what difference between Blerds and black nerds, let's get into the actual video. So an ongoing problem that I have seen is that, generally speaking, when I've seen black people, Blerds, talk about representation, they aren't consistent with it. Let me explain. So a while ago, the whole nerd community kind of went up in arms due to them putting Yasuke in the Assassin's Creed. And I saw Blerd after Blerd talk about stuff like, oh, whenever there's a black character in a video game, gamers have a meltdown. They say that. They are so quick to say that. But that statement just proves just how many black characters in games they don't know about themselves. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk was filled with black characters, and not a single person got mad. Blade is getting a game, and no one called it woke. League of Legends Convergence, a game about a black character, came out. No one called it woke. Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order had numerous black characters. No one called it woke. The first Borderlands, which had a black character in it, wasn't bashed for having a black character. It's become one of the best selling games of all time. No one got mad that Eddie was in Tekken. No one got mad at Raven being in Tekken. Neither Master Raven. So what are you talking about? Because when it comes to y'all will always talk about, oh yeah, well, this character faced backlash, this character this character that. I didn't hear anything about Eddie, Raven, or none of them, okay? So if they did, you guys didn't talk about it, and y'all didn't talk about it enough. Even though y'all so quick to complain and you constantly complain, why not with them, if it even happened? Just to continue the trend of people blowing it out of proportion, but black people blowing the whole woke thing out of proportion. They also say stuff like whenever there's a TV show or movie and it's got black people or queer people in it, they're gonna call it woke. Again, I am partially tuned in to people who always will report about people calling this woke, that woke, when it's not woke, it's just diverse and all that, right? And also, I still do listen to the other side, who is quick to throw that word out, just to see what they have to say and to see if they're being racist or they actually got valid points. The people who usually are quick to call things woke didn't say a goddamn thing about this show. And for the ones who did call it woke, 9 times out of 10, they are the racist ones, and I don't agree with them. And they're a very minimal amount. Because again, the people that I have partially tuned into just to see what they have to say, they didn't talk about the show. They didn't moan and groan about this show. And they are some of the most popular people who are so anti this and that and the other and all that. They didn't say anything about the show. This show with black people and queer people in it. But guess what? They're actually characters that are good, so they didn't say anything. Again, for the people who usually report on the whole, oh, the racist stuff, this, that, and the other are mad again. They didn't say anything about this either. They praised it for being good, which is a miracle. Allow me to specify why I say that's a miracle. Because going back to the whole Yasuke thing, they want to see Yasuke in that game so badly. Black anime fans love ninjas and samurais so much, you would think they'll be head over heels for a top quality project that involves them, right? No, that's not the reality. Black anime fans will gas the crap out of this anime. They will gas it up so much. This anime that includes black culture, but not us. You would think they'd be happy to gas up an anime that mixes black culture and Japanese culture together, right? False. Because Afro Samurai already did this, and dang near no black anime fan, black nerd, or Blerds talk about this show at all. I have read both volumes of the manga, and I'm gonna watch the TV show. So far from what I've seen from the manga, it's amazing. The story's awesome. The action, awesome. Character design, awesome. So why don't they gas this show up? This show that includes their culture and them, well, in the anime setting. I have no freaking idea why. So a while ago I made a video debunking the whole electrical black character trope. I'll summarize it here, but please go look for the full video if you want the full effect, but I'll summarize it here. Basically what I said in that video is that whole trope it doesn't exist. It's a So in the mainstream alone, anime, cartoons, video games, etc. In the mainstream alone, there is only 12 black characters with electric power. Meanwhile, there is 42 to 45 non-voltaic black characters in the mainstream. So I debunked it, and there were black fans and non-black ally fans trying to say stuff like, "Oh no, they it still is a trope. It is a trope. They are doing." But with me proving it wrong, that means that, you see, that's one less thing we have to worry about. That's not a pigeonhole anymore. You see, it's not true. But no, they want to be pigeonholed. They want something to complain about. And then they're gonna try to say that certain characters I listed do. They try to say Storm Count, but her powers aren't electric. Her powers are vastly more complex than that. An application is manipulating electricity and all that. Creators of Miles Morales made sure to give him a heck of a lot more than just bioelectricity. This boy can full-blown manipulate energy and absorb energy, which absolutely makes no freaking sense. Y'all don't call Might Guy pyrokinetic even though he could throw fireballs. I've talked about this before, but also when it comes to black cosplayers, I barely see them cosplay black characters. For this topic, I'm talking about the big time ones, the ones who basically are the face of black cosplay. Them. Now the small time ones may make an effort to do this, and for y'all, thank you for doing that service. But still, why don't we see the big time ones not cosplay black characters? Like characters who are factually black, rather than characters you want to be black. And I get it, we shouldn't only be limited to cosplaying black characters. That is very true. But also, we need to forget to not cosplay the characters that we've moaned and groaned and complained for not being there. We want more black anime characters, yet you're not cosplaying black anime characters. And it's partially out of spite. You do that almost in a way of like, oh, well, we've seen a bunch of people not telling us not to do it, so let's do it en masse anyway. It's like, okay, yeah, don't listen to the racists, but also, why aren't you cosplaying the black characters that you moaned and groaned and complained for not existing? And not only that, y'all go into so much detail for these characters, but don't put that kind of energy into black characters. And the thing is, it's the ones that got the money to do it. The ones that are living in these big old fat houses, buying expensive consoles and stuff like that, who can who can commission high quality black cosplays, but don't do it. You see, the reason why I can't do it is because I ain't got the money to do that kind of thing. But once I do get that kind of money, I made a deal with myself. Once I get that kind of money, for the next 20 cons forward, I'm cosplaying black characters because we do not have enough black cosplays. And I'm going to make sure it gets as far as it can. Because I moaned and groaned for there being a lack of black characters in anime. So I'm going to show my appreciation and love for the fact that they exist. This next point is going to be very, very controversial. Like, I'm going to need you to just hear me out with this. This right here is Black Sands Tale of Seven Kingdoms, one of the main stories in the company Black Sands Entertainment. This anime actually is in the process of getting an anime, and it's being done by the same studio that did X-Men 97 and Last Airbender. Back on topic. So this man was accused of misogyny or something like that. Personally, I don't know if that's true or not, because I've seen the way he handles women in his story and stories he publishes, and they're all top tier. They're not bad at all. They are very important. They are very powerful and respectable women. Even in his story, there is a panel where a man was putting his hands on on his wife, and another man came was like, "Hey, yo, what the freak you doing? You don't put your hands on a woman. What is wrong with you?" Does that sound like something a misogynist would write into his story? My point is this. I've seen multiple black nerds basically say, "Oh, I'm unfollowing him. I'm blocking him, this, that, and the other." They're blocking his company. They're blocking him and other people who just publish their book through him. They don't actually like support everything he does. You know what I mean? So basically, when they block them and they see their followers block them, they're seeing an entire company of amazing, diverse stories being basically blocked and saying, "Okay, so I'll block them too." And let me tell you why that's That's low-key a bunch of bull. Y'all remember this? Y'all remember this abomination? That is Rurouni Kenshin, the most popular manga and animes written by a guy who had videos of children being hurt. Not punched, not kicked, that kind of hurt. He pled guilty, and let's just say he even voiced what kind of children he likes. And this company saw that and take a couple months off, pay a small fee, and then you can come back and start, writing your manga and stuff like that. Those same people who block Black Saiyans are ride or die for all these properties and this company as a whole. This company that is clearly ran by creep. They're willing to give them the pass. Oh, definitely. We're going to give them the pass for greenlighting a creep, a straight up guy who watches videos of children being touched. That abomination went on to get multiple live action, and his old anime is getting remastered. I bring this up because if you're gonna let this company that's not filled with people of your race, you're gonna let that company, you're gonna give them a pass. Why can't you give a company ran by your own kind, pro-black, that has done something far less, if he even did? Where is his pass? Why are you blocking him? Why aren't you blocking Shonen Jump? Let's say he did do it, okay? Misogyny isn't illegal, and misogyny comes in a spectrum. It can come in the form of laying your hands on a woman, killing a woman, and assaulting. Or it could be as minimal as just a bunch of little quips here and there. Being a freaking child toucher ain't no spectrum. It is straight up illegal. Well, I say again, if you gonna let this company not of your race, if you're gonna let them go about fine, you're gonna continue to endorse them, give them money, time, attention, and praise. Why don't you do that for your own dang kind for something far, far less? If you gonna block him because of what you heard or whatever, fine. But make sure you're giving that same dang energy to other people of not of your race, because if you don't, it's saying something about you. And this is my last point in the video, but also just in general, after all of that stuff, they just don't look in general. Again, going back to the whole point of they make stuff so dang. They're so quick to say stuff like, but whenever there's a black character, they're so quick to shoot it down and call it woke. Isom, a black man in his own comic book, outsold Marvel and DC. So what is this about? Whenever there's a black person, it's gonna be called woke. Marvel, he surpassed Marvel and DC. One company that they launched that year, or maybe a year after that book released, and guess freaking what? They surpassed the big two. They did it twice. We're not even talking about on an executive level. We're talking about on a fandom. On a fandom level, this man brought in so much dang money. It's absurd. Robert Downey Jr. didn't build the MCU. It was him. And I haven't seen, and Blade had overwhelming backlash and race, unlike mess like Acolyte. And I know what you're gonna say. But that was before the culture. Okay, you still proved me right. Because you said whenever there's a black character, people get mad. And I said that's a load of crap. What is the context and what are they saying that they are mad about? Because Blade, Mace Windu, and other black characters have been here for years and are fan favorites. The same people getting mad at crap like the Acolyte love Mace Windu to death. Why? People were so quick to say, whenever there's black people in Star Wars that are their favorite IP, they get mad. The same people getting mad at Acolyte never got mad at Mace Windu. And let's say, there are some racist comments of Acolyte. Let's bring that up, okay? 5 or 100 comments of just straight race. Out of the hundreds of thousands of comments that actually thoroughly break this show down and say why it's crap. But all y'all see is black people Backlash. Ah, racist. Racist. And the thing is, y'all don't. This is proof of how much y'all don't listen. The lady who's in charge of that show is Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant. We are living in a time where if a man is just associated with one word, even if it's a lie, he will still get, his reputation will be raked through the coal. Jonathan Majors was only convicted of literally putting his hands on a woman and putting her back in a car. And y'all didn't listen. All your heart was guilty, and a bunch of people were saying, "Oh, he's a terrible person," blah 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 blah, and all. And not only that, he actually was hoed out of opportunity, even though he wasn't guilty of hurting the girl. And throughout the freaking process, there was stuff left and right that was pointing towards she was basically saying a bunch of lies. Still, his reputation is ruined. But we're just supposed to go off this lady's word that, oh no, she didn't know what Harvey Weinstein was doing, and then you're just willy-nilly believe. Hey, she could be innocent, but the fact is, y'all didn't have that, and the energy with Jonathan Majors, you didn't have it with her, which ain't fair. And speaking of y'all getting behind and endorsing projects that may not or are not that great at all, I've seen a fair share of y'all endorse this game. For those who don't know, the company behind that game is Sweet Baby. The people who wrote for this trash game, a company with these kind of employees, and a company that values diversity over quality story. Case in point, freaking Suicide Squad kills the Justice. For that, I'm gonna let my boy Demigod cook on.
Deadshot has gotta be one of the dumbest corporate decisions I've ever seen a gaming company do. And the worst part about having Deadshot transition from a white to a black man is the story that they gave to cover up that he was white before. Apparently, the Deadshot that the Batman actually knows, the one that he's locked up and fought before, was an imposter. So let me get this straight, convict. The original Deadshot was an imposter.
Yes, he was.
That just happened to have a young daughter named Zoe just before you had yours?
That's correct.
And Batman, the world's greatest detective, never knew that you were the quote-unquote real Deadshot.
Sounds about right.
Sounds like a steaming hunk of monkey shit to me. From my perspective, you're the one that's the imposter, Negro. Hey yo, Sweet Baby. If you didn't want to catch up on the source material, maybe you shouldn't have written the game.
Oh yeah, and you remember the game Black Myth Wukong? So apparently they have came out and have revealed that Sweet Baby Inc. and people relating to them has been harassing the team behind Wukong because their story about Journey to the West isn't diverse. As in, it didn't include POC, a bunch of other POC and stuff like that. The story about the Monkey King and Buddhism didn't have diversity in it. And Mr. Anti-Bigotry himself is endorsing this company by supporting this game. The game whose gonna make money and be given to these people, if you want to call them that. All in all, if y'all really care about representation as much as you say you do, go to the indie space. We do not need race war. We do not need these trash behind projects. People won't call it woke if you actually prioritize good story. The only thing holding back black representation is black people. Eric July is proof of that. This man, using the money from nerds, from the comic book fandom, the fandom that is so inherently racist, he was able to make his own comic book company. And not out his basement. I mean a full-blown warehouse. With security. With employees. With their own studio and lawyer. And with professional writers from the comic book industry working with him. A black man has all of that. And guess what? He surpassed Marvel and DC and with a book about a black man. And going back to Black Sand's Tale of Seven Kingdoms, it is being animated by Studio Me, the same anime company, the same studio that made The Last Airbender. The same studio that's making a Devil May Cry anime. The same studio that did the new X-Men 97 anime. And guess what? He didn't need no help from some mainstream AAA company. He did it all on crowdfunding. He comes from the indie space. If y'all are not looking, if y'all are not cosplaying, if y'all are not making reviews for these original Black projects, stop complaining. Because you don't care if you're not doing any of those things. If you need a mainstream AAA studio to get you interested in a project, then you don't care about Black representation. You just want to see black people in an important position in a mainstream company at all costs. And because of that, you are holding this community back. Have a nice day. At the end of the day, the only people that are holding back Black representation is Black people. All we need is to come together, pull our resources together, and we can make our own stuff. We don't need Marvel. We don't need DC. We don't need any mainstream help. We can make it if y'all look and find this stuff. Go to these indie spaces. Go to Webtoon. Tap us. Go look for this. You can literally Google this stuff. We do not need the mainstream's help. We do not need to rely on them. We are more than capable of making our own stuff. But that's the thing. You don't really care about representation. You care about clout. Y'all will choose the cheap token legacy Black character that's mainstream over an indie well-written Black character with legitimate depth that is surpassing that said other character in say. But then you want to say, oh no, they're not a token character, and you don't even bother looking to see the opposite side's arguments. You only pay attention to the racist, and thus you're just a cog in the machine that is holding us back. Racist white people aren't holding us back. It's you. Racist white people may have made this machine, but y'all are making sure it keeps running. And for all the Blerds with money, y'all are the ones who need to be the last ones to be talking. Because you got the money to make that change happen. You don't need to write it yourself, hire a writer. You don't need to draw it yourself, hire an artist. You don't need to animate it yourself, hire an animator. Or better yet, allocate the funds you need to give it to a top tier studio. Kickstarter is a thing. GoFundMe is a thing. If you want more video games with Black hairs and Black customization, go help make it with all that money you got. But nah. You ain't willing to do all that. You ain't willing to put in that kind of work. Have a good day. And remember, go out and look for this stuff before you go throwing accusations.